Storm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I'm Trevor Scott, and with me, as always, is Ben Slinger.
Hello.
Hello.
What are we doing this week, Trevor?
Well, I know what we did last night, which was a lot of fun. We were the two hunters in our improvised Monster of the Week session, and that was a lot of fun and was very successful.
That's right. We do an online improv class, and this was our first performance for this class, with another one next week. So if you're one of our friends or family, look out for it, and we'll shoot the invite around. But it was a lot of fun. We played a master and his sort of bumbling apprentice, and hunted unicorns and ghosts, and got caught up with other hunters. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But tonight, we're going to play our usual game of Click Pitch. Ben, how does it work?
Click Pitch. This is a game where we each have a random phrase generator in front of us, and on the count of 3, 2, 1, click, we will each get an adjective and a noun, which I guess is sort of a phrase. I guess it's not technically a phrase. 2 words each, and we will throw those words at each other, jam them together, make them into a game design, and keep doing that for, about an hour. We might mix it up later. We'll see.
Who knows?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, click.
Wandering degree.
Initiative receiver.
So wandering degree made me think of some sort of like qualification in wondering.
And initiative made me think of Dungeons and Dragons or some sort of digital tabletop sort of game. Okay. So kind of like not a turn-based strategy sort of thing, but more of a Mass Effect that kind of still ran with the D20 rules in the background.
Yeah, so essentially a sort of modern Western RPG style thing with D&D-ish rules, but maybe the like you can pause, give actions, and go back to real time or something, as opposed to a turn-based sort of deal. Yeah. All right. Well, what in this world then is wondering? Is it the act of creating wonder? Is it literally like wondering about things?
Wander as in WONDER, or is it wander as in I'm wandering around? And
WONDER, so like something that is wondrous or wonderful.
Yeah. A lot of the stories that we kind of hear out there is about, a person from this world slipping into another world, and they sort of, hang around in that world. Well, what if something magical fell into our world? And it's sort of based around. Instead of a fish out of water, more of a bird going into the ocean. I like the idea of turning that, like, obviously Harry Potter is a big one with magic specifically, but the whole like, the chosen person finding their way into this magical realm away from the mundane. No, this is someone who thinks the mundane, our world, is new and fresh and amazing. Oh yeah, and you play Craig.
Is that someone?
It's just someone who happens to be a regular sort of person. And they're walking down a dark alley late at night, and they start hearing this crackling. It's behind like, I don't know, a Burger King or something like that. And they hear a crackling, and someone slips through a crack in between the planes.
And they just hear a, "Hello there."
Yeah, a very big hello there.
Can you help me? I seem to have slept through this crack.
Craig just goes, "Oh yeah, sure," and brings him to his apartment, and it's a tiny little like 1-bedroom place.
He's like looking at a toaster. Oh, what is this?
Oh, toasted bread.
Oh, I see. Why can't you just wonder that into existence like I do?
Oh, and I'm just imagining that our wizardy friend continues wanting to go on quests and all this sort of stuff, and sort of I'm picturing the next morning you look on the fridge and there's like a list of things that
you've got your like journal, your quest list.
This is your quest for the day, young sir.
Okay, so do we all right, I'm trying to think which fourth walls we're breaking. Like how meta are we going with this? Because I do like the idea of they're a teenager too. like, because I like the school thing, like flipping that on its head, because that's such a common thing of like going to the magical school or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so does Craig's mum like works weird hours and
something like that.
There's no dad in the picture. His mum's sort of working 2 jobs, just trying to make sure that he's got food on the table and a roof over his head, and it's that sort of struggle. It's just Craig and his mum.
Yeah, he's trying hard at school, and suddenly this fucking Wondermancer.
Ooh, Wondermancer is as a bit of a sort of twist.
Mm-hmm.
Is he just starting to learn Wondermancy, and he was originally like a necromancer or like a darker sort of wizard, and he's trying to go down the life of.
I was kind of thinking he's just learning too, like he's the chosen one from his world to come to to this world, or at least he feels like he is, and like he's trying to determine like what his quest is here. And you're his companion. Like, he thinks he's the main character in a role-playing game.
Yeah.
You, on the meta world, are actually the main character in a role-playing game. Dealing
but you're
with,
playing the companion.
Yes, sort of. Yeah, yes. In a mundane world. And so you like take him to school, and you're having to deal with all his shit and wackiness. He's not very good at magic or wonder or whatever we want to call it.
I'm picturing that it's late one afternoon, and you've gone to a friend's place, and you've brought
shellackness. That's not something.
You basically brought your wondrous wizarding friend Shinneman along.
Shinneman, there you go. Fine.
And he conjures up a 6-pack for you and your friends, and it's like, dude, this is not cool. We don't want to get.
Oh, they're
drunk.
all
it's
totally
like,
square.
Yeah, and they're all, So I think it's just he's trying to fit in, but he's doing all the wrong things. He's bringing things into being, but the way magic works here is things that you conjure into being have to have come from somewhere. And I picture that, like, right. Occasionally you get a cutaway, and it's like a guy who's going to the fridge to pull out a 6-pack, and bang, the 6-pack just disappears, and he's sitting down about to butter his toast, and all of a sudden, the wizard guy brings his toast back. Like, wondrously brings toast into being, and it just so happens that it's like this cranky guy in Craig's building.
One guy.
There's this one guy who always
He's just got a very limited range in how he can snatch this stuff.
It always happens to be this guy.
Yeah. So from a gameplay point of view, then, if this is a role playing game, for one, I think we should obviously make your character configurable in some way.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I mean, we can stick with it's either Craig or
Carrie,
sure. And so what are your skills? Like, what are your skills or classes or, well, I don't think you choose, well, maybe you choose classes. It could alter things differently in the sort of Mass Effect-y way of like more just where your affinity is versus being a completely different play style. Cause I think
jock, nerd, goth kid.
I like it being more of your style than affecting the story in a big way, because I feel like it would be tricky to...
Although a jock, has a little bit more athletic skill, a nerd has a little bit more intelligence sort of stuff, and, a goth kid has a little bit more charisma or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can play with those
that's true. That's true.
Ideals a little bit.
I guess we don't have to play into the full-on stereotypes of, if they're a jock, like their life's going to be completely different. It's like, no, they're just,
they're a kid. They're going through the same bullshit that every other kid is going through. It's just, they may not get bullied as much. They may be doing some of the bullying.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that's it. We could have certain side quests or scenes or whatever that take your class there into account.
But I like the idea that towards the end of the game, Shinneman actually realizes like how special you actually are, and that he is here to help make you become the person that you need to be. Yeah,
it's like your sort of big life quest in some way. What does that look like then? Is it just like graduating high school, or is it longer term than that, or is there something else that happens? to...
Yeah, at some stage you get your head shaved and you got like 666 written into your head. And
it turns out
you're Damien.
You're the Antichrist, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's there to help you take over the planet and...
I know. I was just, coming up with some bullshit.
No. I think we keep it mundane, but it could be that something big happens.
Something big has already happened. You've seen that there's other dimensions out there.
Well, yeah. Well, that's it. Maybe you're supposed to
you become a scientist and you bring the Earth into the new
age of wonder.
Age of wonder. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool. That's fun. And then does Shinneman ever get to go home? Is that the end game? Is it like 20 years later and finally like you as the scientist have found a way to send him home?
And then, it turns out that it's very much like a Army of Darkness sort of thing that you send him to the wrong dimension.
Oh, and then the sequel is you are actually Shinneman. Again, a different kind of world where there's, maybe there is magic, but it's like dark blood magic and you're having to...
And from then on, it's just magic quantum leap.
Magic quantum leap. But between dimensions rather than like different people with it. Yeah. Cool. Magic quantum leap. Yeah, fun. Love it. So if you want to click. Saltwing.
Unfounded bunch.
So Saltwing to me sounds like the name of like a creature, like some sort of flying creature.
A mystical monster that you find on the salt plains or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe along the lines of, what was that game by the Shadow of the Colossus folks that I didn't end up playing with the big dog thing? Yep.
I don't remember what their third game was
called.
But Last Guardian.
The Last Guardian, yeah. Maybe a little bit like that in that you've got this giant flying creature that you find and sort of befriend and...
I like the idea that this creature is super innocent. It's been hunted, but it's like it doesn't do anything to anyone. Like it's a herbivore sort of thing.
Well, maybe maybe you find maybe when you find it, it's still in its egg. Mm-hmm. Like it's a baby essentially. All right, is this sort of a fantastical world that we start in?
I think it's like a alternate Earth sort of thing. Slight differences, but it's.
I guess are there cities and technology, or are we sort of?
Yeah, it's kind of set around this sort of era, but there's definitely some differences between.
And are these sort of creatures
that Earth and this Earth?
Are these sort of creatures common, or is this like weird?
I think this creature is
one-off.
Is like a mystic.
It's like a
sort
cryptid
of creature that's, it's known of, but, it's kind of like the dodo that everyone thought that it had been hunted to extinction sort of thing.
Okay. Feathered or like scales or like reptilian?
Feathered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beaked? Like, are we thinking like bird-like in that way, or?
Yeah, well, I actually saw something the other day that, it was a picture of a swan without feathers. And it looks like what a dinosaur would actually look like.
Right.
So I kind of think the idea of, dinosaurs in this world, whenever people sort of drew them, they were always very, very feathered and looked kind of like huge, humongous birds.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. In this case, a saltwing is kind of like a layover from the, Jurassic period or whatever.
Yeah. It's like it's like if like the Loch Ness monster is a, brachius. Well, no, what is the, anyway,
Yeah.
Some sort of sea dinosaur, then this is a similar sort of thing where there's this myth of, that these flying dinosaurs, feathered dinosaurs have survived up in the mountains or something.
Mm-hmm.
The cliffs, the high cliffs. And so are you a child? Or do we go away from the trope of the like child and their companion animal, and you're like, maybe you're like an elderly person.
Yeah, because you could actually, sort of have this person was involved earlier in their life in maybe a hunt for a saltwing or something like that. And
yeah, well, I think like Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster or whatever, I think there are people out there who are hunting these or like trying to find these things, believe they exist. There are hoaxes all the time, but obviously it's never actually come to pass. And you were maybe one of those people for a long time, and you finally became disillusioned. You retired, up here on the cliffs in an isolated kind of area where you'd, because while hunting for it, you had just fallen in love with this sort of landscape or something. But then you stumble across what you had been looking for all this time, yes, in an egg.
I think it's one of these things where you were so focused on this whole thing that you actually forgot to live. That you were so one-sided that, you've been alone, you don't have the friends, you don't have the family, and this salt wing sort of makes you realize what you've been missing all these years, and companionship that, that maybe you can achieve by sort of letting go of.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, there could be a bit of like, now that you've found it, you're obviously obsessed with it, you're trying to help it, I actually like the idea of it being smaller to start with, so we cover the sort of growth of it up into this like huge creature eventually. And it might still only be over the course of like a few weeks or something, like maybe it grows really fast. But yes, the point of it is that at the end, you end up having to let it go anyway after this short time with it, because it needs to like fly free or whatever and live its life. And yeah, you sort of comparing that then with, I need to live the rest of my life. And so maybe do we bring in then sort of the family that he has abandoned in this time, like estranged children and grandchildren or something? I think, or it's just more a personal...
I think he literally never got married, never even had someone else there. Like, he's literally a sad, bitter old man who learns through this companionship that maybe...
But he's still got life left to live, and...
Yeah, and so I think
time to live it.
The final scene could be he actually sits down in a diner and actually goes to talk to the lady who's been serving him pie. Like at the very start, there's a lady, sitting in the diner and she serves him pie.
Is he installs Tinder on his phone? And it's a very poignant scene.
And he
swipes left, right, and then cut to black.
Right, cuts to black, and then you hear. Ding! The ding of a match.
Yeah, there you go. I hope I got those directions right. I wouldn't know.
I've been married for what?
You've been married for longer than Tinder has existed, so
yeah, going on 13 years.
Yeah,
and I've been going out with my wife since 2000. So yeah, I've kind of been.
You've almost been with her longer than the fucking internet's existed. So
that's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are old.
We old. So we didn't really talk about gameplay. I think there's a bit of like flying stuff eventually, like once it's grown large enough, you fucking jump on its back and hold on for dear life and do some cool, adventurous flying.
Yeah, I think there's kind of like a Tamagotchi sort of scenario where you got to try and keep this thing alive by feeding it berries and scratching its belly and...
I think there is a short-ish sequence enough of almost a montage, essentially, of it growing.
Gonna need a montage.
Gonna feed your soul wing. Gonna make it grow. All right. Yeah, cool. 3 click. Clever involvement.
Debatable frequency.
So strangely, those words are giving me like a Sherlock Holmes kind of vibe. Someone who is clever, but at a debatable frequency involves themselves. Only when they feel like it.
So does like Scotland Yard keep coming to him with all these ideas, and he's kind of like, I really don't give a shit.
Yes, but let's move away from the kind of whatever 18th century, 19th century sort of vibe of a classic Sherlock character, and let's just take the general idea of someone who solves crimes, is very clever, sort of above everything, but different setting.
Okay, lives in Australia in the outback, and the AFP have just come in asking for his help
to find the cult of box toss.
Gary.
All right, Outback Sherlock Holmes. Yep. Interesting.
So do you play like his John Watson?
Yeah, I think that's often the perspective that you get on a Sherlock story, because I think it makes a bit more sense to sort of see it from the more relatable person. Although the Sherlock games always have you as Sherlock.
Yeah,
but,
which I don't get, because all the books are pretty much written from the perspective of
Well, they're as if John wrote them, aren't they? Mostly, like Watson wrote them, yeah.
Which to me makes so much more sense, because Sherlock is just not, you can't be like someone that smart. You've got to work with someone.
Yeah, well, it's hard to play that character because they're too smart, essentially, to actually be kind of effectively played. So, look, we have an opportunity. We have an opportunity here to name these characters. What is who are the Sherlock Holmes and the John Watson of the Australian outback or regional Australia?
Well, one of them's got to be Bazza.
Oh, that was what it was in my head. Bazza Clarkson.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
that's your John Watson character. I think you play Bazza Clarkson.
Bazza Clarkson, who is working for and sort of friends with the very clever crime solver of Sheila.
I'm looking for Sheila Caravan.
Sheila Caravan. Sheila Jackaroo.
Yep, Sheila Jackaroo. There we go. I was thinking of Holmes' house.
Oh, okay.
Where's somewhere else that,
I did. There was I did sort of maybe just try to go for a similar sounding name as well, but I couldn't think of anything. So, Sheila Jackaroo. All right.
Yeah, I love it.
And Bazza Clarkson is her trusty sidekick. Mm-hmm. So, what sort of fucking crimes is she solving? Or what crimes is she interested in that she's going to decide to solve? Because yes, is it the AFP or is it just like the regional, like local police?
I like the idea that it's sort of like the AFP have come in to help the local police, like this series of grisly murders, kind of like the Wolf Creek, sort of Ivan Milat, sort of all these tourists have been going missing and that sort of stuff. I think that's ripe for someone really smart to come in and analyze the scenes and realize that it's not the normal sort of, serial killer that they're going up against. This person's very smart. They're covering their tracks. They're,
well, I mean, she has to have her Moriarty. So
yeah,
does that come through in this first big case?
I think it's one of these things that, we keep your Moriarty sort of behind the scenes, but they're pulling all the strings.
Yeah. Yeah.
So 3-4 cases down, you realize it's all connected.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Love it. So are we sort of doing that classic, like the Sherlock Holmes, recent Sherlock Holmes games are quite good. I haven't played a lot of them, but from what I've played, they seem...
Which one have you played?
I think I played a little bit of like Devil's Daughter or something, and then
I was about to start playing that yesterday.
I think I played most of one of the other ones actually on maybe on Xbox.
Yeah, I was close to starting one up, and then I'm like,
I think I did a lot of Crimes and Punishments, the 2014 one. I think I played through most of that on maybe Xbox. And look, it had some cool things. It had some interesting ways that you like connected up your ideas in your sort of little mind palace-y sort of thingy. So Sheila does a similar thing in her mind paddock.
And it's literally just a paddock filled with like sheep and cows that she can just sort of sit down and...
Yeah, they have things written on the side of them.
As the sheep are jumping over the fence, and she's fighting the urge to sleep. They kind of have things written on the side of them that you kind of...
Yeah, and she can conjure up her like cattle dog to round up these ideas into different pens.
I love it.
So fucking stupid.
It really is, but we don't give a shit.
No, it's fantastic. Who is her Moriarty then? Like, so this crime is done by someone else, but it was driven by some mastermind who has. Well, I mean, and often Moriarty is really just to get one over on Sherlock.
Mm-hmm. So I think It's a Dr. Terence. I'm thinking Terence because it kind of feels like a city name. You know, it's kind of like, you know, upper class. Terence Mullen, maybe?
Terence Mullen. Yeah, sure. I don't actually know. What are like typical Australian names? I don't even know. And I was tempted to go like culturally different, but then I was like, oh, but we're creating the villain now. And that's just like, that seems wrong. I don't know. Representation is good, but.
Okay. Dr. Terence Mullen, DDS.
Are they a dentist?
Doctor of Dental Surgery, yes. Good. Makes perfect sense. You knew I had to bring it back in. You're the one that actually said, are they a dentist? Because you obviously knew that DDS was...
I assume, yeah, I was pretty sure. I couldn't remember. I wouldn't have been able to tell you exactly what it stood for. I saw you were Googling something, though.
Yes.
Was Sheila once his dental assistant?
No.
That's maybe going too far.
I just think that, you know, Sheila at one stage, you know, upstaged.
Yeah.
Terence.
Yeah, I think Terence
in their
is
youth
just
sometime.
Terence is just a prick. He went to a private school. She didn't. They had some like
it could come down to something simple like at the Rock of Stedford. Like, she said something and made him look a fool.
Yeah, and being a pathetic man, he's held onto it for this long. Mm-hmm. And yes,
she's forgotten who he is. Like,
absolutely. She's just gone on with her life solving cool outback crimes.
Yeah.
She knows who Waltzing Matilda is about. Like, she solved that crime. She
worked it out when she was 13. Like,
yeah. Cool.
Okay. So crime one was the serial killer.
Yep.
And that just turned out to be, you know, someone a little bit like dumber than what Sheila expected.
It was Barnaby Joyce.
God. Can't he have just been one of the victims? I know that that's a bad thing to say.
Actually, yeah, I like that a bit better. Probably
that's why the AFP
it's probably
came
one
in,
of his
like,
wives.
That's why the AFP came in, because, you know, it was, you know, really high
profile. Yeah. Deputy Prime Minister murdered. Everybody tries to not smirk in Parliament the next day.
Okay, so that's the first crime. A serial killer who seems to be not as smart as what Sheila was expecting.
Yeah, like, based on how well they were getting away with it up to that point, it seemed like it should have been someone much smarter than who it was. And then there's one little clue.
Just one little clue, and that is that a molar has been taken out of each victim.
Each victim, right? Yeah.
Because of course you need that evil dentist, you know, sitting in the background. You know, that's sort of like
Baz is writing up his journal about it. You know, well, this was a ripper case this time. Sheila was baffled when she came across the Bunyip killer.
No, but Sheila noticed that this killer could barely put two sentences together.
Yep, he was a real
dumbass.
This one.
Kept saying, yeah, nah.
So case two then is maybe where the resolution of it does actually introduce Terence Mullen, DDS.
But as a like...
Oh, he's the victim, maybe, or
like he's kind of in a helpless position. You know,
yes.
He can't do anything, and he's oh so grateful. But you know, it only just stings more when.
Oh, maybe do we hold off then? Do you just have that as a case that you solve, like this dentist office in Bendigo? It has been like drugs have been taken and you're tracking down like where they're being sold and different things. And you don't even, and then you just solve it and you go on to the next case. And it's not like until, the end of this case or the one after that something becomes clear about case two. It's like, oh shit. Like Mullen was set the whole thing up and he was selling the drugs and framed the person that we actually pinned it on, and it's all been this huge thing.
You go with the AFP to arrest him, and there's just a note say with Sheila Jackaroo, better luck next time, and there's just a molar just sitting there, and it's like, it's, the molar from her first case, that the one missing molar that.
It's the molar from the dental work she had 10 years ago. We ran the dental records. This is your tooth, Sheila.
Yeah, I'm now picturing that he's left like these X-rays of someone's head and
God, he and X-rayed her in her sleep.
No. He just happens to have he's got the dental records. Yeah. He's been involved in her life a lot longer than what
she realized.
Especially when she realizes
like baby teeth records.
That those records aren't recent. They're actually
decades old.
But it's like, how did he get them? Because he's also the same age. And it turns out that it's like his father was actually her local dentist. But when she was a kid, she accused Terrence's father of doing something which he actually did. Yeah. He got arrested and went away for many years, and that's where it also comes back to all this stuff. I absolutely love this idea of having this outback.
Oh yeah, and setting up this whole class differences between them as well, with the fucking private school kids, because they're horrible for the most part.
Sorry for any private school.
No, it's fine.
Well,
the whole system's fucked. All right.
The views of Ben Slinger are not necessarily the views of Bitstorm as a podcast.
Fuck privatization, and 3, 2, 1, click.
Jesus Christ.
One of my words is dentist. Come on. Huh? Are you serious? One of my words is dentist.
Yeah.
All right.
Diverted household.
A loud dentist.
A loud dentist. Oh, yeah. Just shouting all over the place.
I was almost thinking we should that I'd take it as that. It is ALLOWED, as in someone who is allowed to be there, or
okay, because dentists are complete assholes.
The views of the Trevor Scott are not necessarily. No, we have said in canon, it's canon in our show that dentists are all villains. Yes, as evidenced by our last game.
Okay, so we know that dentists are literally the scum of the world. They're just above a Barnaby Joyce. Just above.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised Diverted household. Is this the family of a dentist who has been put into witness protection after the crimes of their dentist father and husband?
Ooh, yeah. I'm wondering if it's one of these things where you don't actually explain what the dentist husband did.
Mm.
And it's literally like a story of this woman and her two kids trying to piece their lives back together after what the husband did.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of destroyed the.
I feel like you could call it. I feel like that could be the title of the game. What the husband did, but it's never actually revealed.
No, you don't need to reveal it. You know it was bad because she doesn't want to. She doesn't want to talk about it to anyone. I kind of like the idea that it's kind of a Schitts Creek sort of thing, because you just said that you were watching Schitts Creek before coming in. And I like the idea that it's sort of like she's gone to this small little town to get away from.
Okay, so it's more of this sort of. It's actually more of an upbeat story than what you would first think, in that she's reinventing her life, coming from, dentists are pretty well paid. So coming from, at least upper middle class kind of lifestyle, and now, has nothing, living in this small town, and it's about. So is it sort of almost a Stardew Valley-ish vibe of not necessarily from the gameplay point of view, but just of there's a town, you start to get to know the people. Yeah, you're setting yourself up in this town. Maybe you have to get a job. You've got multiple places you can get jobs, and maybe multiple schools you can send them to. Maybe you can choose to send your kids to private school and fuck them up completely as a person. But. It's really around, finding your way back to some sort of normalcy.
Is the family in hiding?
Yes. I think that makes it somewhat interesting. Because then as you are building these relationships in the town, there's the risk of like your true identity getting out, or the past coming back to haunt you in that way.
Yeah.
There is a dentist in town, so there's some real fucking tension there. Maybe they're a rare good dentist, or at least seem to be. So like but she has real trouble accepting that.
Yeah, because, you know, obviously her husband was, it's implied that he was somewhat abusive.
Yes. I mean, I think it's heavily implied that what he was a horrible person, and whatever he did also affected her, and yes, potentially was directly abusive to her and the children.
Yeah, but what I do like about this sort of idea is that you can show that life does move on, and I don't think that there's going to be a chance for him to actually come back into the picture.
I don't think he's in the game at all. I think he's just her backstory, essentially. He's the reason she's there and needs to pick herself back up and her life back up. And then, it's about this town, and it's about your family and how they make their way through this town. Yeah.
And what she does to get her life back on track. It's kind of like a Cello Gotta Groove Back sort of thing.
Yeah. Is this a bit, I'm almost picturing, because we did say sort of Stardew Valley-ish in a way. I don't mind adding some like creative elements into it, of like maybe you can set up your house and your garden and stuff over time where you get new different things, but also you're going out into the town to
sort of almost do like a The Sims sort of thing around the house, that you can sort of highlight certain sections that you want to update with the latest furnishings and that sort of stuff.
And you can make choices about, do we, get a big screen TV because that's what the kids want for entertainment, or do we,
do we get hot water? Because the hot water.
Well, you may have, yes. I think you have, particularly in the early sections, you have some struggles there with having to deal with poverty, essentially, with not having enough money to go around.
And can you talk the kids into, let's just go down to the local video store that is still somehow got tapes and all this
small
sort of
town.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Small town. Because, it costs less to hire a videotape a week rather than spending all your money on Netflix, sort of.
Kids, we can't afford Netflix, but listen, we'll go down there and we can get one laser disc.
No, we can't afford the one with the special features.
I've budgeted in one HD DVD. Oh, no, wait. They only have Betamax at this store. Right.
Why did we spend all that money on the Laserdisc and the HD DVD in one when we could have bought that Betamax for a quarter of the cost?
Well, kids, you wanted the special features.
Well, now you're going to have to buy everything, and it's going to cost so much money. We can't afford the internet. Oh, Mom.
We can't afford the budget of the rest of this game, and then the game just quits.
Oh, bugger. That was fun. Freedom.
Should end all our games like that.
Okay, so my first word, which, can we just remind the audience that we get an adjective and a noun, and my first word is adjective, booking.
But adjective isn't even an adjective. Oh my God. Going store.
Okay, is this a store that sells adjectives?
Oh, okay. Interesting.
It's kind of a game where you're selling describing words, and you can sort of.
So is this sort of like a Scribblenauts sort of thing where when you attach an adjective to something, it kind of takes effect?
Yeah, so a smelly customer comes in and
you buy smelly off them.
And you buy smelly off them and you sell them like lovely.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually really interesting, because a person doesn't want smelly, but then another customer might come in with some cheese.
Ooh, and they really want that rich cheese flavor, and it kind of changes.
Yeah, they come in with some dry cheese, and you're like, oh, well, look,
wet.
No, you sell them smelly, because that's going to alter the type of cheese that they have. You got smelly for a steal because that guy didn't want to be smelly, but now you can up the price because smelly in this situation is much more valuable.
Yeah. Well, smelly is kind of a rare word as well. It's rare to get something that can describe so many different things. Because sometimes there's like words that are literally only going to be for one usage.
I mean, I guess.
I mean, just imagine you get funny. Like someone sells you the word funny.
Mm-hmm.
And then a comedian walks in and it's like, I can jack this price right up because
well, that's it. I think it's about that supply and demand of the value of that adjective to particular people or objects that those people have. And so you might have something like weird sitting on your back shelf for months.
I mean, and then
Al comes in.
Yeah, someone comes in with a broken clock and sells you the word broken. But then, you kind of like, how am I going to sell this? And then someone comes in with a curse. And you can go, I've got the perfect word for you, broken curse. And it's
exactly.
Like, the curse is gone.
Exactly. And they just, and now you have the word spooky that you took from the curse. And that's never going to sell.
It really goes well at Halloween.
Ah, yeah. Someone comes in with a shitty costume.
And then all of a sudden, they've got, you happen to have two spookies and you go spooky, spooky.
But they don't want to sell you, so it's a spooky, spooky, shitty costume. But it still works because it's spooky, extra spooky. Oh, you can even have, like, what do you call those grammatical things where it affects the adjective?
Ooh, I don't know. Is there a...
I'm sure there's a term for it. I don't know. I'm sure there is a word for it, but I don't know my grammar well enough.
Yeah, I don't know of a word that describes
that. But anyway, it may just be another adjective. I don't know. Like, yeah, it's an adjective that's building on top of the adjective. So something super extra smelly.
Yep.
If you really need that.
I like this idea. I think this is pretty cool. You could easily put some simple gameplay in there of you got to be careful about what you sort of got around the store because you really don't want to put powerful next to the word curse because all of a sudden, you've just caused a lot of
well, I think
horribleness.
Yeah, I think in that case, the curse is represented by something. Like, I think the nouns are all just the actual things in the world, and then you have some way of attaching the adjectives to them. But yes, I think you have a mix of, like sometimes an adjective that you buy, it could be really valuable to sell, but maybe you want to apply it to like the sign out the front because now it's eye-catching, right?
I mean, that neon really works well.
Just attaching the word eye-catching to it actually turns it from a dull paper sign into a neon sign.
Yeah. So in this world, are you the only one who can actually like see the aura of the adjectives? Because I'm picturing a lot of particle effects and, it's sort of like when you see this thing, and they're kind of on the shelves in glass jars, but special glass jars. And when people sort of come in, there's a bit of ridicule there because, people don't believe that you're actually selling a physical product.
You've got a special jar full of gullible. That you just kind of sprinkle on them.
Occasionally you get someone who is just literally gullible, and you can see the gullible aura around them.
Yeah, you stock up. You stock up.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more trusting. Like you've got some trust. You've got some trusting that you utilize in times of non-believers. Or
it's literally you can just find some sort of noun that you've some sort of object, and you can apply a very simple thing to this. Like
it could just be a color, or
they literally see a clown there, and they're like, that clown is creepy, and it's like, oh yeah, what if I do this? So you take creepy away and you put funny, and they start laughing, and it's kind of like.
I'll take 7.
And it's like, oh wow, this actually does work. And so you start telling them what you can sell.
Yep.
You have to sort of bring people on board and explain, where do you get new words, new adjectives from? Can you conjure them out of nothing, but they're kind of weak?
No, I think I
like the idea that they're kind of weak. Ones that you kind of can make a carbon copy or kind of take a little from.
Yeah, they're weak in that they have to be. It's a specific set of words that are not very they're not very effective as an adjective. So it might just be something like damp.
But sometimes it may be really hot outside and someone just wants a damp washcloth that they can sort of...
Yeah. It comes in useful sometimes. And those, but the more powerful ones, the ones that are going to really have a big change on a noun, you have to buy them from other people. I think you're doing a lot of bartering. You're doing a lot of trade.
Ooh, for some of the more horrible sort of sounding words like moldy, you can sort of go down to the bakery and you're looking through the trash can and you go, moldy bread, I'll take that. And you can sort of, get some of those.
Yeah, you could do some scavenging of that sort. I think definitely though, like any adjectives that are describing a person, it's you can't take that without their consent. That's a real problematic behavior, and even people's objects and properties. So yeah, it's essentially you're taking aspects of these physical things and finding their value.
What is an adjective shop called? Describe this.
Well, I'm trying to think. Is it an adjective itself?
I keep on coming back to needful things, sort of.
It's got a needful things kind of vibe.
But I like the idea that an adjective shop could actually be really fun.
That's a fun little thing. That's a fun little interesting kind of semi-magical world with words that, particularly and I don't know if you do it more scene based or systems based. Like we sort of mentioned Scribblenauts, but because I like the idea of you can have certain things that happen to, like if you've got smelly, then you can throw that on anything and little stink lines will start coming up over it and people will start avoiding it. If you've got glowing, then obviously they let things literally start to glow. If you've got colours and if you've got speedy, right, you can give that to a dog and it runs 10 times the speed. I don't know.
Oh, it's one of these things that you've got to be on the lookout for, that horse trainer who's just looking to get his horse to win. He'll win at all costs.
Yeah, well, that's it. So
what I was thinking with the cultivating, that you can sort of, if you find a really, really powerful adjective that you've got, you can take like little cuttings of it and sort of cultivate that with, like, you sort of sprinkle a little bit of magic dust on it and sort of try to grow it to a...
Okay, interesting. Well, if you're mixing and matching and combining adjectives, is it the effects of them that sort of play a part, or is it the letters themselves?
The effects.
Okay.
So, what I'm saying is, you cut a little bit off smelly, and you've got like not a strongest, it's kind of like a weak smelly. So it's smelly.
So you've
it's
got
like
pungent. Well, or like I guess that's maybe more smelly. Yeah. Well, does it add a modifier to it? Does it add slightly?
Yeah, until finally you get
mildly.
Yeah. And it's those modifiers that you kind of sprinkling a little bit on, and it kind of incorporates itself into this aura of smelly until finally you can now take. The previous smelly that you had is now sort of formed back up to be full, so you can take another little bit of a cutting off that, and you can sort of keep some of your more rare words around, so that you can on-sell.
Graft them to other things, essentially, or sell versions of them that...
Okay, what happens when the dentist walks in and you see a bright red aura? Yeah, it's just got the word evil just written around him. Or, sneaky, or,
Well, that's when you find the limits of your power. Because that adjective cannot be removed.
No.
Until you find godlike as an adjective and apply it to yourself. But don't let him get hold of it. Don't let that dentist steal that word from your grasp.
When someone's leaving, you kind of just see a slight aura of the word murdery. And it's like, oh.
Homicidal.
You start helping the cops out. You go into a room and it's like, guilty. Yep, okay, that's that person right there.
Except you could have put it on anyone.
Guilty Sheila.
You actually, you do that, but then you remember that you sold guilty to someone who in return for shifty, which was on them.
What happens if you start getting infected by some of the things? Do you have to scrub it? Mini game to sort of scrub the horrible adjectives on.
So you start speeding up because you spilled a bottle of Fasto yourself accidentally. Yeah, you start fucking people over because you accidentally dropped the bottle of dodgy.
I mean, one of the best describing words that you didn't realize at the time was the word fucking, because it can describe so much.
Well, yeah, you didn't even sort of realize it was an adjective. You thought it was a verb. You thought it was an adverb until you realized, oh wait, that could be applied to all sorts of things, and it just amplifies them.
Yeah, it's just
a
fucking awesome clock. And it's like people start buying these clocks like instantly.
And
so you cultivate the word
fucking. The whole point is that eventually you find the word happy and you put it on your own head, and then that's it. That was your goal the whole time. You were trying to trade up to happy.
3-1 click for our last game.
One more quick one, unless it's not. Upward influence.
Shaped amber.
So upward influence makes me think of something that's buried and is like affecting the area above where it is, like the world, the ground.
Okay. And shaped amber is making me think of Jurassic Park.
Yes.
So how can we combine?
Is this future Jurassic Park? And they've either built an underground Jurassic Park or a Jurassic Park on a huge flying airship.
I do like the huge flying airship.
It's the only way.
And the airship is shaped like amber. Like it's kind of like the you have a look at it from the ground. It's like, is that like a huge mosquito encased in amber?
And the woman who created it, her name is Amber, but yes, she was named
Amber Hammond.
Amber Hammond, exactly. She's like the
granddaughter, great-granddaughter.
Niece or whatever, because I don't think he only had, it's like
John Hammond,
Lex's granddaughter or something.
Yeah. So this is years in the.
This is a couple generations on, so that we can have some interesting tech. And they've done this because at least if any dinosaurs escape, they'll just fall to their death.
Oh yeah. Except the flying ones.
Except the flying dinosaurs, which they've made the mistake.
They really shouldn't have. They shouldn't have made those pterodactyls.
But look, it's Jurassic Park. They always go too far. They always
I mean,
push it a bit
whose great
too far.
idea was it to build 30 raptors on an airship?
And look, life finds a way. And somehow those raptors got smart enough to break into the genetic engineering lab and give their children wings. So now we have winged raptors, which you'd think would just be sort of like pterodactyls, but they're smarter and they've got the big claw.
I just don't understand why they didn't make like some nice dinosaurs. People don't always need to see, the super like Tyrannosaurus ones.
Well, look, they tried to do that in Jurassic World, right? They tried to make
but then they still made
raptors
and the whatever the hell that.
It's true. They should really just make herbivores.
Yeah, Indominus Rex or whatever.
Well, yeah, that was just a fucking disaster all up. But look, Amber hasn't made that mistake.
No, she just made 30 fucking raptors.
She made other mistakes. She was like, maybe she's trying to make raptors that are like next level intelligent.
Yeah,
because she believes
herbivores, because she's only fed them on
they're herbivore
all
raptors.
all vegan diets.
Yes, but they're dangerous because they're so intelligent and they start affecting the stock market. But
the veganism, they didn't have enough iron in their diet, and they're a little weaker because she hasn't been giving them the supplements that they need, because they just.
Well, they grew wings and escaped, so where are they going to get them?
This is insane. Okay, so is this 20 years later and there's now 1 million flying raptors?
Yeah, yes. Well,
and one of them comes to an office with a briefcase.
Yeah, this is 20 years later, and raptors are now just part of society.
And it's now getting political. One of them's running for office. They were in movies.
Yeah.
If you explore the world, you find a whole heap of them, going on a hike. Watch out for flying raptors.
Yeah, and they're just really
Central
uppity.
Park is just
They're just
filled with them.
really uppity because they're like, well, you can't fly, and we're super intelligent. So
we decide, fuck it, we're going to abandon the Earth, and that's why we're now building, the ark to escape.
Yeah. We've just like the dinosaurs, left the planet to us so many tens of millions of years ago. We're just going to leave the planet to the dinosaurs.
Yep, that's the plan.
And then you succeed, and that's the end.
That's all we have time for tonight on Bitstorm.
If you want to find us online, we have other episodes, many of them. Some of them about raptors, some of them about dentists, most of them about a variety of other things. Go to podchaser.com/Bitstorm, listen to them there, leave us a review, follow, you'll get email notifications and things when we have a new episode, which is every single week. So go and do that.
As long as there's no power outages, then we try to get it out on every Monday.
Exactly, yeah. We still manage. Sometimes it's a few days late. It's still there. It comes out.
We still release something, and if not, then we might put something on socials. We may not.
We're not good at that.
We're not good at that. We've got full-time jobs. This is our fun time. We'd like to thank Kuradust for allowing us the use of the song Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure.
So thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott. I'll just assign you Creepy, and there you go.
Thank you.
Why did I do that?